We gotta do it. Oh,
We
man.
should. I think we should, but I think it would probably freak people out.
Yeah, well, don't do it. But
So yeah,
maybe
we're just
later.
yeah, it'll be another time. So, welcome to this week's every other week Facebook Live with the spectacular Pam Newton. I've known Pam for 20 some odd years.
At least.
Yeah, we've worked together, and I've always said the same thing about Pam when I try to describe her to people. I always say the same thing, which is she's cool as Christmas. She's worked in this field for a long time. Done a lot.
Really long.
Very, was that rude?
Oh, like 35 years. For real.
Have you really?
Yeah, if you go, yeah.
So some of these people weren't even born
They weren't
yet.
even born.
Wow.
I'm like
That's
great.
her.
I can be great grandmother to them.
No.
Okay.
You're young. You're
Okay.
vibrant. Maybe a grandmother.
Okay.
Maybe a grandmother, but that's where I'm going to draw the line.
Okay.
But she's worked with kids, worked with their parents, did a lot of work with Betty Ford's 5-Star Kids program, and then she's been here at I360 for
6 years.
holy cow.
Almost 6.
So for 6 years has been here working, doing a lot of work with, you did a lot of work with kids early on, but now you really honed your work with adults, and especially with moms.
Yes.
And so that's some of what we wanted to talk about today. Ken Osayan and I have talked about a lot of different things, and I thought, you know what, let's spend a little bit of time talking about women and recovery and some of the challenges that women face. And I'm a man, so I was like, well, we need a good woman.
Amen.
And so, so I was like, all right, so how do we get some help with a good woman? Now, for the record, she and I started a women's recovery group, right?
Yeah, parenting and recovery.
Yeah, and after, I think it took about 3 months to go, hey, which one of these things just doesn't belong? And so I haven't been back since. But she's continued to do it. And I work a lot with women individually in practice. But Pam and I are always talking about some of the challenges that women face. For women are different than they are for men. So, why don't you just say a little bit of, because you do a group, you've got a wonderful group, some really neat women. What are some of the things that you've noticed here over the past 5 or 10 years that are kind of different about women and how women struggle with alcohol and how they step into treatment different?
Yeah, it's a big difference. In fact, like you said, I've worked with young children addicts and alcoholics for 14 years. And coming here, it's just kind of, my practice is kind of honed into now primarily mothers who are alcoholics. And that women's group that meets on Wednesday, and I tell them every week, and they know it, they say it before me now, it's my favorite day of the week. It truly is. It's an hour and a half of pain and, I mean, deep struggle and laughter. These women are funny. We call it WWW, our Wednesday Wonder Women. And, but what I know and what I've gleaned, even more than and you can read it and work individually, but as a group, working with dozens and dozens of women, shame is at the heart of addiction anyway. Shame is at the heart of being a mother, for God's sakes. We talk about mother's guilt. We're talking about mother's guilt and shame. And the differences in men and women alcoholically is that, first of all, just the stigma.
Yeah.
Society sees an alcoholic father very different than an alcoholic mother. You know, I never heard anybody say, he's a bad daddy, but you will hear bad mama. And she says it to herself more than anybody else. But
you know, I just love the way you say that. But you know, it's funny. We often really protect our brokenness and our struggles.
Oh.
But that issue of the shame, and it's so true, I don't hear that very often about men.
Well, men are just like, the boys will be boys. They can throw it down at a bar. They can do it at lunch. They can do it after work. They do it on the golf course. They're throwing it down. Women, you know, it doesn't look so good. And the thing is, one of the things that sort of surprised me was, but statistically, even across the country, even internationally, women tend to drink wine. That is the women in my group, 90% is wine. A lot of wine. And women seek treatment later.
They do.
They don't go into treatment sooner because many times because of the children. But that pain is palpable in that room when the women talk about their children.
Yeah.
And it is there is a difference. And not even we metabolize it differently.
Yeah, y'all do. And so And you and I were talking beforehand. There was a great article I read, New York Times, here recently. Scott Yates, who does a lot of concierge medicine, he and I were talking about it the other day, and he was telling me about it. It's called the accidental binge drinker. And women, you should not be able to drink as much as your husband. And if you can, that's a bad thing. You shouldn't be able to do it.
I could drink one to your two, and
Yeah.
and I will feel way buzzed way more than you with your two.
And for reasons we don't fully understand, women physically and socially and psychologically suffer far worse from addiction than men. The impact on your liver versus my liver is greater for you than it is for me.
And I know you're going to love it when I say this.
Oh, gosh.
Women have more fat in their body than
I
water.
didn't say that.
You,
For the record, I didn't say that.
you
I didn't
have
bring that
more-
up.
Men have more water.
We have more water.
Which dilutes the alcohol. We don't.
That's because y'all have to birth babies.
Exactly.
I don't know nothing about birthing
I know
babies.
you don't.
But y'all do, and that's that element of we don't fully understand why, but it is very different physically for women. And you're right, you touched on it earlier. Women's drinking tends to be different than men's. Y'all tend to drink later in your life cycle. Men tend to drink earlier and have problems publicly, breaking things or laws or relationships. Y'all, women tend to drink a little more quietly and secretively.
It is
And
much more secret.
we also talked about some of the emotional things. There are a lot of reasons that increase and decrease our drinking.
Right.
Talk a little bit about some of the mood, depression, anxiety, and even the role as moms.
Right. First of all, if people haven't read Elizabeth Vargas's book,
Mm.
Between Breaths, it is a wonderful account. It parallels most of the women in the women's group.
I've heard great stuff about
and
that.
just like most of them, a lot of them didn't even drink in college all the way through, but somehow the drinking they did around 35, 40, maybe 40, all of a sudden they lost control and they don't know. It's like a train going south. But what Elizabeth says in the book, and I've heard it since then, is that 60% of female alcoholics also suffer from extreme anxiety. I mean, to the level of sometimes maybe even panic attacks, but extreme anxiety, fearful social anxiety, fear.
It's one of, men and women, one of the most common things I hear about people's drinking and alcohol use is to quiet the anxiety. And you wonder how much of it is anxiety about how they are as a mom, how their kids are doing, their marriage.
It's huge. It is like there's a lot of what does it look like? You know, I've got to do this right. And a lot of the women, many times who financially don't have to work, make their job. I'm going to be the best mother I can be. I'm going to be PTA. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get them in the best school. I'm going to show up for everything. I'm going to have the best costumes at Halloween. And then the kids grow up and they leave home at about 17. And many women at that point, as you and I've said, they lost their job. And they are purposeless. They don't know who they are. And alcohol has probably already been a little bit of a part of their lives. But a lot of times you see that the depression increase and therefore the alcohol use. And then the secrecy. The drinking in secret.
And how much of it is there a void, right? Because as the kids start to be 13, 14, 15, especially when they can drive at 16, friends are more important than mom and dad. But husband also may be in the throes of his career taking off. Right. So there's this vacuum that's even greater.
Yeah, and a lot of the women that I've worked with over the past 5 or 6 years are blessed enough to have a husband who makes a lot of money. And in that, they have the finest homes, the finest cars, their kids are in the best, and they look at like, but I have all this. How can I feel like this and be like this? I don't deserve to have this problem. And therefore, again, they don't seek the help, and they think they're the only one. There may be 5 more women that are alcoholics on that, but they never know because it's such a secret. And when people, and you know, I did have the gift of working for Betty Ford, actually even knowing Mrs. Ford, and what she did in the late 70s or 80s when she came out and said, I'm Betty Ford and I'm an alcoholic, nationally on TV, it shook everyone, but it reached so many women. And one of them, one of my dearest friends, was sitting in a hotel room in Austin, Texas for work, but was drinking a lot of wine and felt so bad about herself. And she saw Mrs. Ford on TV, and she told me at that moment, she said, if the First Lady of the United States has this problem, I can address it too. And she did. But it's people like Elizabeth Vargas. Once women, what I see, once they get into recovery, oh my goodness, you can't stop them. They truly, and then they work with other women, but it's them knowing there's another woman, Glennon Doyle Melton, if people have not heard of her.
And we'll get that link up.
We'll put it up, but her last book, Love Warrior, she was recovering addict alcoholic. She is phenomenal, but they relate to that, and it's that sense of, I feel like I'm the only one, and I'm a horrible mother, I'm a horrible person. And the thing is, if you can't get past that shame, you can't get sober. And that's where, for many people, they find help in 12-step and recovery in groups. They need that community to get better.
Yeah. So what's one last thing before we run out of time? What's another thing that you would say to women that are struggling or not sure if their drinking is starting to impact their lives? What's something that you would say that you've seen? Because you and I do. You and I get to see people whose lives have changed so radically. What's something that you would say to encourage them?
Oh my goodness, is that they're not alone. They're not. It feels like you're the only one, but millions of other women struggle. And one of the things that I tell them, we know that the disease of addiction, alcoholism, is hereditary in many ways, family dynamic ways, genetics, all those things. And a lot of them, their biggest fear is, what if I pass this on to my child? What if that happened? What if this horrible disease? And it's like, but guess what? In all these years, what I see, if you get into recovery and you embrace it, your children inherit that. And I see these women become the best parents I've ever seen. They're much better parents than they were before. And their relationships with their children, you would not believe how quickly they build trust, how quickly these kids are so happy to have this mother they can access and talk to and really hold as a role model now. And I have many examples of women that, you know, their kids are so proud of them and they embrace the recovery and get it.
You know, on that, I wish we're not going to have time to get to it, but one of the things that's incredibly difficult for women in order to get to that place is, and you and I talk about it, husbands don't tend to do as good of a job as wives of stepping into the treatment with a spouse. So when we work with husbands that have a problem with addiction, wives step in differently than husbands. Because with a husband, especially, and we say this all the time, if a woman has to go away to residential, and sometimes they do, it's horrible dealing with a husband because now he has his job and he has to shoulder all of the child care responsibilities, which not many men do. And so a lot of women will not stay engaged in the help they need because they feel like they feel either the pressure from the husband or I need to be there for the kids.
They do. It's I cannot leave my babies. And these babies may be high schoolers, but it's I can't leave my babies. And another piece of that is, and if I do, it says that I'm a bad mother because I left them. And, you know, in many cases, women don't seek treatment because they do have school-age children and there's no place. And so they are much later to access that care.
Well, and it's what, you know, honestly, so much of what we've done in working with women is been able to navigate around school schedules and husband work schedules and still deliver a lot of care because it's one of the biggest challenges for women.
It is.
But you know what? If you can stick with it, you really can get the care you need.
Oh, yes. And I mean, these women, I respect the women in that group, but I've told you this.
Oh, they're
I'd rather
awesome.
spend an hour and a half with them than other people out in the world because they are real, they're raw, and they are so funny.
I love them. I love them.
You can hear, sometimes we make so much noise laughing.
It's so wonderful.
That we disturb other people trying to get help here. But truly, I love those women. They know I love them. I respect their struggle and their coming back. And when you get to see them just thrive, it's better than anything.
I love it. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes. Pam Newton and Innovation360. She does a wonderful group. It really, I don't care if you were here or across town. I'd still talk about how awesome she is because she is. So thanks for joining us. Catch us in 2 weeks. We're going to talk a little bit in 2 weeks about a book that's going to be coming out. I think you'll like it. Struggle Well, Live Well. So we're going to talk about that here in the next couple of weeks. I may even have you come back.
Oh, I would love
We'll talk about that some more. So thank you guys for joining. That's it. See, look, you did fine. You didn't cuss.
I know.
You didn't.
I
You
almost
did
said-
so good.
I almost said hell.